Hello everyone, how are you all doing? I'm Veena S Reddy, a chartered accountant and a company secretary, currently pursuing my LLB from National Law School, Bangalore. I am in my first year of the LLB Honours program. I think you would have spotted me on the NLS website feature as well as on their LinkedIn page as a part of the NLSAT-24 outreach program. I'd also written a couple of LinkedIn posts on how to approach the exam, both for part A and part B. I'll just give the link to it in the description box of this video for your quick reference. There were a couple of messages on my LinkedIn inbox asking for time management and about mocks specifically. So this video would be exclusively dedicated to that. So basically to start, this exam is for 2.5 hours and it's a 75 marks of part A and 75 marks of part B, and I guess you would have read the instructions that both the parts are equally important for the final rank list. However, part A will act like a qualifier for the purposes of evaluating a part B. So talking about part A, there would be basically three components in it, which is basically your general comprehension, your critical reasoning, and your current affairs. You will have passage-based questions, and all the three components would be tested based on the passage. I think there would be around 6 to 7 passages that would be given, followed by the questions of 1 mark each and a negative marking for both not answering it or wrongly answering it. So I recommend that answer, because any which ways you will be getting a negative marking even if you don't answer. So the strategy for that would be to, what I followed personally is, first when I start a passage, I used to look at the questions like very briefly in like a minute or a two, without reading the options, just the questions to get a broader understanding of what is being asked, and then I used to read the passage so that I have the context in my head. The exam is such that you will necessarily have to finish part A within 75 minutes because part B requires the remaining 75 minutes and you cannot compromise because it's a written component. So skim read the passage, but do remember that you will not have adequate time to get back to the passage when you're answering the question. So when you read it for the first time itself, you should have a clear understanding of the passage and to be able to solve both your critical reasoning as well as your English comprehension questions. Critical reasoning will basically be on what would strengthen the author's arguments, what would weaken the point of view of the author's argument, and so on. Like generally any other GC question that we would have seen, similar to even the CLAT papers, I could say. And if I have to talk about the current affairs, so if you have been preparing for the exam and you know it, you get it, otherwise you don't get it. So do not waste a lot of time on your GK questions. That is my recommendation for it. So if you're conscious enough of the time, you're skimming the passage, capturing it at the first time itself of when you've read and able to answer the questions, that would be great. And if you get stuck, like, just move ahead, because every question is 1 mark, so every question is equally important. Don't go for egos and get stuck to only one passage or one question. I had taken mocks. I recommend that all of you should take mocks, and in the couple of days left for the exam, do consider taking mocks, because that actually helps you better manage your time. The mocks I had given had longish passages, and that they were more of current affairs. But to our surprise, the exam had shorter passages, and it was not exclusively from current affairs. There were a range of topics. There was something on a movie, there was a passage on a story about feminism, and then there was passage on something on science, and so on. So you cannot expect the type of passages that would be asked. So the skill that you can only pick up from your mocks is how do you time yourself, and is the strategy of looking at the question first and then going to the passage actually working, and how are you able to effectively capture the essence of the passage at the one go itself. So this would do for your part A. But talking about part B importantly, which is the written component, I got 99 percentile in the written component, so I think I'm better equipped to talk about this in brief. You'll have 6 questions of 10 marks each, which is your legal reasoning questions, and then a 15 marks of analytical ability, which is basically an essay. So each question will require 10 minutes, so 60 minutes, and then 15 minutes for your essay. So whole sum of 75 minutes is required for part B. So how do you go about part B, legal reasoning questions? So there would be a fact situation that will be thrown up on you, and they would ask you to argue it out. So you can take a stance, you have to take a stance, either supporting it or against it, and you will have to build your answer accordingly. So the question will have a lot of facts. So the skill would be to identify the issue, identify the relevant facts, and then take a stance and argue it out and persuasively conclude. You do not require any prior legal knowledge for the purposes of this section, all based on common sense and broad legal principles. If I have to talk about how do you present it, do not start your answer saying I agree to it or I disagree or yes or no. Or don't say that it is open-ended, because the question is any which way is open-ended and they're giving you the scope to write your answer. So first, your introduction kind of the presentation, that would be you identifying the issue, connecting it to the relevant facts, and then you would move on to arguing out, wherein you argue on your side, both based on those relevant facts and your broad common sense and legal principles, broad legal principles, not like the technicalities of it. Also, it's important that you take the other side and you counter it, saying why is it weaker and showing how your argument is stronger to it, and then you will persuasively conclude it. There should be a logical flow and a consistency in your argument. So this is what we follow in law school also for the answers we write, which is precisely called the IRAC format, which is your issue, rule, analysis, and conclusion. So here it would basically be the issue that you're identifying in the relevant facts. You pick up your stance, you argue your stance, you counter why the other side is weaker, and then you persuasively conclude saying, this is my take on the question. So that is what they would look at as to have you picked up the relevant facts, have you identified the issue, what is your stance. No stance is right or wrong. It is about how you argue out your stance and convince him. So that's how the part B questions are. You can see the writing tips that I've given on LinkedIn page, which covers all the aspects that I've been talking about. And on the essay, this is something like how we have like a UPSC essay, I could say, similar. But remember that this need not have to be facts heavy or based on data or statistics. In this segment, you will have 3 questions, 3 prompts, and you can choose one to write your essay. You will not have this internal choice in your part A or in your part B legal reasoning. The choice is only for the essay. So mostly the essay topics are current affairs. I will put the topics that they had asked me in the 2023 exam in the description box. It's also on my LinkedIn post. So same format would be introduction, body, conclusion. But in the introduction, you are getting context and you're telling what is your stance on a particular topic. And your body is again arguing out your stance in conclusion. Essentially what they test is your ability to argue, analyze, logical consistency and coherence. Because trust me, this is what is required in law school itself. So this is like a method that they're using to test those skills and to equip those skills. So that's about part B. Like I've said, do not think that mocks are final. Expect surprises in the paper. So on the final tips and strategies, allocate your time well. I strongly feel that 75 minutes is required for part A and 75 minutes for part B. So be on time, be cautious. There were questions as to whether I can do part B first and then part A. It's totally up to you, whichever you feel more comfortable at the start of the exam. Some people are comfortable with MCQs first and then going to the written part, and some people are comfortable vice versa. So that's about it. And every section wise strategy, like how I've told, that would be the approach, that would be the broad approach that you guys should follow. And that's about it from my end. Consider liking and sharing this video so that it would have a greater outreach to all the aspirants. All the very best.